you're ready.
Hey, Devin, what would you say the most misdiagnosed problem is?
What is one of the most misdiagnosed problems? We have one that we could show you here right now. One of them would be what I would consider a very misdiagnosed problem would be the antifreeze in the oil problem. And we got one here that we could show you. This tractor came into us. This is a 140 Zetter HSX. This has got Zetter's 1606 engine in it. This is a bulletproof little engine. Very, very, very few little problems with it. But one of the issues that it had when they originally brought this to us, they had blown this radiator hose. Not necessarily blown it. They had actually rubbed it back in there and it had a hole in it. And they lost all the coolant in this tractor, and this tractor got hot. It got hot, and then they ended up putting a random piece of rubber on here that I don't know if you can see. This hose is two different sizes. It's bigger on the top, smaller on the bottom. They put just a generic piece of auto part hose on it, and then it didn't seal up good. It was still dripping a little bit. They limped it along for a couple days, and then it finally came down here to us. When we got it, we were able to put a new hose on it. We pressurized the coolant system, and everything was fine that way. So we went ahead and rolled with this tractor back to the customer. But then it ended up coming back to us. We're gonna be now probably about 8 months. They've been using the tractor. And he said here the last month, it started getting coolant in the oil. And so one of the main deals that we see all the time is a guy will pull the dipstick and they'll see that they got a little bit of coolant on the end of the dipstick, and they will immediately jump to the head's got a problem, or the head gasket has got a problem, or an injector cup or something along those lines is what a lot of guys will tend to jump to, and they'll end up ripping this top end down, throwing a head gasket in it, and think that they fixed the problem. That's not the case with most of our style of engines. I'm not saying a DD15 or a 6-liter Ford Power Stroke. They do definitely have head gasket issues. These do not. We don't have issues with sunk liners. We don't have issues with head gaskets going bad. But what we do have issues with is what this particular tractor had, and I'll show you. Keep in mind, this tractor got hot. And so we pulled the oil pan on the tractor, and then we repressurized the cooling system on the tractor, because we wanted to know one thing. We wanted to know, is the water coming in between the piston and the liner dripping down on the ground, or is the water coming around the outside of the liner dripping down into the oil pan? This particular tractor, and this is the one we see the most often, this was dripping oil down around the outside of the liner. And this is number 4. This is number 4 liner that we pulled out of that engine. And if you look down in here, I don't know if you can see in there, this is a 5,000 hour engine that has 0 ridge and still has dang near perfect cross hatching inside the liner. Virtually 0 wear. This virtually has 0 wear on the pistons. The pistons have not contacted the liner. The rings are not seized in the hole, which is normally on our littler engines. When we see an overheating problem, we see the piston skirt got into the bore of the block and the rings are all seized in the hole. We got compression issues. But really the problem with this one was this little liner has O-rings right here on it, just like any heavy duty liner does. But if you look at this, we're going to try to show this as best we can. This little O-ring, if you look at that, there's a line right down the middle of it where the O-ring is gone. It's like hollowed itself out from the inside out. And they're very, very brittle. That one broke when we took it out. This was the one that was leaking the coolant. And this was number 4, which would be what we would see as the back cylinder would be the one that gets hot. But then when you look at the number 1, liner, this one here would be in the best shape. This one even had a place in it where the old O-rings are, they're pretty brittle. They're pretty crispy. So it comes down to then, what do you do for this style of repair? what do you tell a customer to do on this? What should you do on this? Because really, the only problem with this entire engine was it needed new O-rings on these liners to reseal these liners back to the block. But for us to do that, we have to split the front end. The loader has to come off, the loader frames have to come off, the front end has to come off the engine before we can even pull the oil pan off it. We get the oil pan off of it, now we have to knock one liner out. So we knocked number 4 liner out, piston and liner. We put a new set of O-rings on number 4 because number 4 was the one that was leaking. We put it back in there. We still need a new head gasket. We need a whole head gasket kit set, a water pump kit on it, a oil pan gasket. We put that thing all back together with 20, 30 hours worth of labor to put that all back together, get the loader frames back on it, get the loader back on it. And then wouldn't you know, we've seen it before to where you go another 6 or 8 months and number 2 or number 3 starts leaking around the O-rings. So really in this situation, we would pretty well recommend every time. We still have to buy all of the gaskets to do all this. The only thing that we did different is we bought 4 brand new piston kits. And this engine's gonna get 4 new piston kits and liner kits, pistons and rings, and then it's gonna get all new gaskets and stuff on it. But back to your original question, what is one of the most misdiagnosed problems? That would be one of them, because we would have a customer, or we would have a guy come in and say, oh, it was the head gasket. It was the head gasket that was the problem. And this particular engine had nothing to do with this head gasket. This was not a problem at all. We were not injecting water from one of the water jackets down into the cylinder. We were not anything like that. This had no leaks on the top end. And that's where we got back to that question where I was originally saying, was the water coming down in between the piston and the liner, or was the water coming around the side? And a lot of guys will jump right to this because they don't want to have to do the work that it takes to get the oil pan off of that to be able to get up in there and to see where it's actually coming from. But it can save you a lot of time and a lot of money, because this is still no small job to put a head, if you're going to take it off and put a head gasket and put the head back on it, that's no tiny job to do on that. But you're going to spend all the money to do it, you're going to spend all the time to do it, and you're going to find out you didn't do anything to fix your problem, where your head gasket was not your problem at all. Your problem was these goofy little O-rings down on the liners. So if you're asking me if that was one of the most misdiagnosed problems, that would sure be one of them that we have.
Thanks, Devin.